Proceed.
This is a statement by Azimio la Umoja parliamentary group. As everyone is aware, now we are marching on Nairobi on the 20th of March 2023, which is next Monday. We reiterate that the planned march has our full support as the parliamentary group of Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition Party. The march is necessary as a last resort aimed at restoring the dignity of our people who are being treated by utter contempt by the Kenya Kwanza regime. With the march, we want to make it clear to the regime that the government must be about the people and must work for the people. We want to make it clear to all that leaders must listen to the voices and cries of the people and those who don't end up paying a steep price. Kenya Kwanza has ignored the voices and cries of the people for the last 6 months, and now the people want to assert themselves, reclaim their space, and take over their country. That begins in earnest on Monday, the 20th. Kenya Kwanza has hurt our economy through deliberate acts of omission and commission. Therefore, for the chain of events that are set to unfold beginning Monday, the regime has only itself to blame. What are the facts? What are the acts of commission and omission? Number one, cost of living. While leaders around the world introduce subsidiaries to protect people from the rising cost of living, Mr. William RUTO shocked the nation by snapping subsidy on petrol, electricity, unga, and school fees. He then proceeded to introduce more and higher taxes on basic goods, leading to all-time high prices. The high cost of goods is, therefore, a direct result of RUTO's decision and policy choices, and which he continues to stand by. It is not that there is nothing, and instead make their lives more miserable. I will repeat that. The cost of goods is therefore a direct result of RUTO's decision and policy choices, which he continues to stand by. It is not that there is nothing Kenya Kwanza could do to save the people of Kenya. The regime chose not to help the people and instead make their lives more miserable. On Monday, the people will seek to show them that they may be poor and hungry, but they still wield the power. Number two, discrimination in state appointments. The Kenya Kwanza regime has continued with a policy that makes Kenya a one community nation, in which critical appointments to public offices go only to members of one ethnic group. That this is happening at a time literally every family in Kenya has a son, a daughter, a father, a mother looking for a job. On Monday, the people will seek to speak to RUTO directly, register their unhappiness with the state of affairs, and demand inclusivity in appointments. Number three, privatization of Kenya. For the first time in our 60-year history, as a country, we are being told that Kenya is a private company in which the shares you hold depend on how you voted and how much money you contributed to Mr. RUTO and Mr. Rigathi Gachagua during the campaigns. We are being told that in this RUTO Rigathi company, jobless young people can only hope to join crucial bodies like security forces, upon providing proof that they are card-holding members of UDA. On Monday, we converged in Nairobi for a special general meeting to tell Mr. RUTO and Mr. Rigathi that Kenya belongs to us all, regardless of how or whether we voted and contributed to UDA campaign kitty. I will now invite the minority leader of the National Assembly to proceed with the rest of the speech.
Number 4, audit of IBC servers. As a party, we adhere to the principle that only a legitimate government that is elected by the people and enjoys the confidence of the people can put people at the center of its agenda and work for the welfare of the people. It is in pursuit of this principle that we have been calling for an audit of IBC servers as a step towards electoral justice and ensuring integrity of elections in future. RUTO has continued to resist those calls. On Monday, the people of Kenya will gather in Nairobi to enforce that they mean what they are saying. They will be in Nairobi to reiterate that they are tired and can no longer tolerate regimes that come to power by usurping and manipulating the people's will as expressed at the ballot. Number 5, assembling the new IBC. We will be in Nairobi on Monday to make it clear to Mr. RUTO that we do not support his decision to reconstitute the IBC without consulting other stakeholders and interested parties, including the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party. Number 6, assault on multi-party democracy. We will be in Nairobi to tell Mr. RUTO that we have taken note and strongly oppose his determination to make Kenya a one-party state by buying legislators, orchestrating meaningless defections, and forcing other parties to fall and join his own. Number 7, regime incompetence. It is now clearly evident and undisputed that Kenya Kwanza is an extremely incompetent and clueless regime, and to allow it to continue pretending to be governing is to betray the country. Everything that can go wrong is going wrong. Our Kenya shilling has collapsed, and the regime doesn't know what to do. The dollar has simply disappeared. Cost of unga, electricity, and fuel is still going up, and Kenya Kwanza has no explanation and does not know what to do. From the above, it is clear the issues Kenyans are complaining about are not with us by accident. These issues are about the choices made by the Kenya Kwanza regime. There are many other policies Kenya Kwanza could have pursued, but they chose the ones whose net effect has been to cause more suffering among the people, create uncertainty in our future as a country, and destroy our institutions. Our decision, therefore, to march on Nairobi on Monday is born out of necessity. We fully support it, and we appeal to all Kenyans to come out peaceably and unarmed and march on Nairobi so that we can take back our country. Thank you. I'll be inviting the Honorable Edwin Sifuna, Senator for Nairobi, to make some further comments. Thank you.
The Azimio coalition also want to register our very, very strong concern about some of the pronouncements that have come from this regime, from none other than the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, confirming what we have long suspected, that this regime is going to take us back to the era of political elimination of opponents. We want the authorities and to call upon the DCI to ask Mr. Gachagua to record a statement on the utterances regarding the life of Honorable Raila Odinga. He is on record as having stated that there is going to be a final solution to what he sees as the problem of the Odingas from the time of Jaramogi. we want to make it absolutely clear that we as the Azimio coalition will hold Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua personally responsible if anything should happen to Honorable Raila Odinga or indeed any member or leader of the Azimio One Kenya coalition party. This language you hear of a final solution is not the first time we are hearing such a language. As students of history, you will recall that Adolf Hitler, at the beginning of his term in Nazi Germany, set out what he called a final solution to the Jewish problem in Germany and in Europe generally. By the end of that endeavor, 6 million Jews were gassed and killed and slaughtered throughout Europe. Everybody understands the meaning of the word final solution. We want Mr. Gachagua to be taken to the DCI to record a statement, because we cannot be taken back to the era of J.M. Kariuki, of Robert Ouko and the others, just because they are unable to deal with the political questions that have been laid on the table by the coalition. So as the Azimio la Umoja coalition, we are saying we have confirmed what we have suspected all along, that this is a regime built on elimination of political opponents, built on the elimination of witnesses, as we saw in the ICC cases, and that they are going to take us there by trying to eliminate, as he himself said, the leader of Azimio, Honorable Raila Odinga. We want to say, finally, that should Raila Odinga so much as catch a cold on Monday, the person to be held responsible is none other than Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto. Thank you very much.
And I think that's fine. On the issue of Monday, it must also be made clear, since it has already been declared a public holiday, that employers of all shades and from all areas should release their employees and allow them to participate in their national duty. Except the media. The media, of course, will be on duty. So we expect that the employers will understand that their employees will be having a duty to perform that day, a national duty indeed. But more importantly, the call by Mr. Ruto that Honorable Odinga agrees with the police how to go about the demonstrations is uncalled for, is unnecessary. The police know their duty, which is to protect lives and property of Kenyans. It is not the work of Raila Odinga or anybody else in Azimio to help them do their work. Or RUTO for that matter. Thank you very much. See you on Monday. No question.
Seth, what is not clear?
Kama mama na kama kiongozi mama katika mimi nataka kusema kama mama na kama kiongozi mama katika taifa hili la Kenya. Tunajua hali ya maisha ilivyo ngumu, uzito wote unabaki kwa mama. Uzito wa kutafuta chakula unabaki kwa mama. Uzito wa kupeleka watoto shule unabaki kwa mama. Uzito hata wa electricity unabaki kwa mama. Na huu uzito wote vile sisi kama kina mama unatupata, lazima sauti ya kina mama isikike. Na ningependa kusema ya kwanza, maandamano ambayo yako tarehe 20 yatakuwa maandamano ya amani, maandamano ya kutoa ujumbe, maandamano ya kupeleka vilio vyetu, maandamano ya mlalahoi na maskini kupeleka kilio chake na kilio chake kisikike. Na haya maandamano ni maandamano kwa sababu kwa muda mrefu tumeongea na tumesema, lakini ni kama tunazungumzia viziwi ambao hawasikii, ambao hawana macho pia hawaoni, na pia hawana masikio ya kusikia, na pia hawana akili za kuona ya kwamba Wakenya wako katika hali ngumu sana. Sasa hivi dola imepanda juu sana, shilingi yetu imeanguka sana, na tunaambiwa ya kwamba watu wamefix economy, ati mtu amefix uchumi. Uchumi huu umefixiwa vipi hali ya kuwa sasa shilingi yetu kwa dola ni 140? Jambo la pili nataka niseme, kuna matamshi ambayo yamezungumziwa na kiongozi fulani hapa Kenya ya kusema ya kwamba Raila Odinga and the Odinga's family lazima atamalizana na yeye na atamfanya aende kuendanga. So sisi tunauliza kuendanga wapi? Raila is a Kenyan, a patriotic Kenya, is going to remain as a Kenyan, is going to remain to live in Kenya, na hakuna pahali Raila Odinga anaenda. So kama unasema Raila Odinga aende kuendanga, aendange wapi? na yeye ni Mkenya na hapa Kenya ni kwao na amezaliwa Kenya na anaishi Kenya na ataendelea kuishi Kenya kama mzalendo halisi wa Kenya. Na kama ni utetezi kutetea wanyonge na maskini na walalahoi, atanyamaza ile siku ambayo Wakenya watakuwa na maisha ya kuheshimika, watakuwa na maisha, watoto wataenda shule bila pingamizi, unga utakuwa bei nafuu, kwa sababu hicho ndio chakula cha Wakenya wengi, chakula cha maskini. Wakati ambao electricity is going to be affordable, wakati ambao pesa ya help ya loan ya wanafunzi wetu itaweza kupatikana. Kwa yakiwa hayo, hutamsikia Raila Amolo Odinga akisema, lakini kwa sasa ataendelea kutetea taifa la Kenya na Wakenya kwa jumla. So wewe kama unasema unangoja aendange, akiendanga hata aendanga na kuendanga. Sawa sawa jamani, sawa sawa. Na unajua wakati unamfikiria mwenzako maovu, ujue na kuna Mwenyezi Mungu. Mwenyezi Mungu aliye juu atamlinda sana baba Raila Amolo Odinga, na hata kuwa intimidated, hata babaishwa. Yeye kama mtetezi wa Kenya alianza kutetea kwa miaka mingi sana ya nyuma, na hata kulipokuwa na serikali zile zilikuwa na maudikteta na mambo mazito sana, na hakuogopa. Ataogopa sasa kutetea wa Kenya, ataendelea na hataenda kuendanga. Is there to stay in Kenya permanently.
Members of the fourth estate, thank you very much for coming. We, as legitimately elected representatives of the people of Kenya, wish to state the following: that the planned disruptions planned for Monday are desperate, selfish, evil, treasonable, and unpatriotic actions of a sole loser. For peace-loving progressive Kenyans, it is a deja vu. We have seen this before. Yes. And just like in the past, there is only one man who benefits from such chaos: Raila Odinga. A man who lost an election that he thought the deep state would help him win. A desperate Raila has realized that he is too old, too weak to mount any substantial campaign in 2027, and has resorted to theatrics. He has decided to become a political suicide bomber. He won't lose alone. If he loses, in his mind, of course, he says, if he loses, Kenya loses too. He is ready to burn down the country in a last final attempt to redeem his Bonoko liberator image. Kenyans must remember that the planned chaos and anarchy has nothing to do with the people of Kenya or the state of the economy. Just a few short months ago, Raila was very okay with everything that he is today. With everything that he's today complaining about. And until he lost the election, everything was very okay. Raila was very okay when the previous regime was looting the state coffers dry. Yes. He did not raise a thing.
Yes. Shame.
The emerging revelations exposed the shocking impunity with which Kenya has scammed and robbed dry as Raila watched and benefited from the accruing deals. Like you've heard about the telecom deal and such. Raila is in every sense a big part of the high cost of living problem. He cheered on every single decision made by the previous regime as they crippled the economy. The subsidies, the COVID-19 fund, the KEMSA haste, the 6 billion theft, and the fuel subsidy haste are just a few of the evils that Raila cheered on.
Shame.
As for any elected leader joining on these unfortunate calls to burn the country down, they should first resign from their elected positions first on two grounds. Number one, it is the same IEBC that declared the president, the same one that declared you as an MP, as a governor, as a senator, and all the other elective seats. It was wrong on the president, but it is right on their side. Shame. It is either the people are represented or they are exercising power directly. Yes. Never both. It can never be both. If the people have to exercise their power directly, relinquish your representation role and join on the direct exercising of power. Finally, the youth of Kenya must remember that as they are being called to the streets for slaughter, the sons and daughters of the organizers of these demonstrations are away in Arusha as members of the Iyala Parliament. Yeah. They are drawing salaries from the taxpayers' coffers and building good careers and lives for themselves, as the sons and daughters of hustlers and strugglers are encouraged to be on the front line of danger and peril. Finally, Kenyans should know that every time Raila rallies people to his chaos, it's only Raila that benefits. In 1982, Ochuka was hanged. In 2007, he walked on a bridge of dead bodies to the coalition government. He was not the one who stood trial at the Hague. In 2018, even Miguna was deported after swearing him in. Even today, he wants to use the same tactic, walk on possibly dead bodies to benefit from the chaos he causes. Raila only fights for the greedy Raila. That's all.
I think our statement says it all. One, that we want to call out Mr. Odinga and his desperation and insatiable appetite for bloodshed in this country. And as we have said in our statement, the only person who over the years has benefited from his insatiable thirst for bloodshed in this country is only one man, Raila Amolo Odinga. Not the people he purports to speak for, and not even his partners in the coalition, including his sponsors today, who also suffered the same blackmail that Mr. Odinga is trying to exercise today. We want to support His Excellency, the President, in what he said yesterday, that this is a nation that will be governed by the rule of law, not the rule of men.
Yes.
Past regimes might have made Mr. Odinga believe that he is above the Constitution and above the laws of this republic. We want to say that the government now has a sacred duty and responsibility to show Mr. Odinga that he is a subject of the Constitution and a subject of the laws of this republic like all other Kenyans. Two, we appreciate that every Kenyan under the Constitution, under the Bill of Rights, has certain rights that are guaranteed to them, including the right to demonstrate peacefully, to picket, to hold processions, but there are ways as to how you do that. You must work with the security agencies to offer you security and escort you. But what we have seen with the Odinga demonstrations over the years have nothing to do with peaceful picketing. And all indications so far, and I'll draw reference to what happened in Kisumu City yesterday.
Yes.
I also draw reference to the calls by his army of goons that he arms them with guns, as you saw in Kilifi. One of the speakers, as Mr. Odinga sat there cheering and clapping, one of the speakers asking him to now arm them with guns. I don't think anybody needs a gun or to be armed to picket or to hold a peaceful procession or demonstration. And Mr. Odinga's history and past speaks the opposite of anything to do with peaceful demonstrations or peaceful picketing. As we have said, Mr. Odinga is now pointing fingers at this regime and the Kenya Kwanza administration for the high cost of living. But we want to call his bluff. It is Mr. Odinga who cheered on as the last handshake administration was looting this country dry.
Yes.
And because I said very soon we shall be naming these people, I want to state categorically that Mr. Raila Odinga was the net beneficiary of the COVID haste, of the fuel subsidy haste, of the telecom haste, and when details come, Kenyans will get to know that the net beneficiary of all the theft under the Kenya Kwanza, Jubilee handshake regime, the net beneficiary of all the looting was Raila Odinga plus his sponsors, who are even sponsoring him up to today. We know the desperation for Mr. Odinga, besides the late realization that he may not have the energy and the stamina to run another election, is the desperation to cover up for the theft and outright looting of our economy under the last regime. And we want to promise Mr. Odinga, his sponsors, and his army of goons that the Kenya Kwanza administration, and least of all President William RUTO, shall not be intimidated by any means. The pursuit of those who looted our economy will continue unabated, notwithstanding his demonstrations. The pursuit of those who use their offices to run away from taxation by offering themselves exemptions, tax waivers, and reliefs will continue. And this administration will also continue to work on means and ways of uplifting our economy and improving the cost of living for the Kenyan people, to make life more bearable for the people. And the president has already begun work on that. All these members you see here, you saw them in the National Assembly when others boycott the National Assembly. These members were there yesterday debating the budget policy statement to ensure that we have in place programs that will ensure that we bring down the cost of living to the Kenyan people. That's why we are challenging our colleagues in the Azimio coalition. And most of those in ODM who are now slaves of the Odinga dynasty, please, it is only yourselves who can rescue yourselves. Nobody will rescue you. But we must remind you that the people of Kenya elected you as members of parliament to come and deal with issues and matters that are of concern to them through parliament, not in the streets. And that's why we have said, should you find you have no space in the National Assembly and in parliament as members of parliament and senators, simply quit your positions.
Sure.
And join the rest of the army of goons asking for arms. But we must also tell them that this government has a sacred duty to ensure that the rule of law reigns in the governance of our country. And we want to encourage the president and all security agencies to spare no effort and no energy to protect lives, protect people's property in Nairobi and outside Nairobi in other cities, so that the unfortunate incidents that happened in Kisumu yesterday do not happen again. Lastly, last night, along Bugani Road in Karen, Mr. Odinga held a planning meeting, details of which we have with his ODM members of parliament. And we have details of how they plan to cause chaos and violence within the city over the weekend, culminating with massive destruction of property and bloodshed on Monday. And we just end by reminding Mr. Odinga, you are not above the law. This country shall be governed by the under the Constitution and with the rule of law, not the rule of men.
Yes.
The former president might have made you believe with a handshake that you are above the law and you can do all that you want. We want to tell you that impunity shall end and shall come to an abrupt end
Yes.
under this administration.
Yes.
And the people of Kenya have moved on. The people of Kenya want to see the economy working again.
Correct.
We invite you members of parliament to join us to working through uplifting the lives of the people of Kenya by working on the economy that you destroyed under the handshake regime. Shortly, as we said, and you have seen a number of committees of this house have begun work on the telecom haste, the maize subsidy haste, and the committee on energy will soon be embarking on the fuel haste, the subsidy haste. We have had Mr. Odinga and his army demand a reinstatement of these subsidies, and we want to tell him it shall not happen. We shall not continue to feed the monster that has destroyed our economy. Yes. You destroyed our economy with those useless subsidies that were only there for a month and ended up benefiting your families only. And as I said, with time, Kenyans will get to know, besides Mr. Odinga and his family, the other net beneficiaries of those subsidy programs that they are now demanding. Thank you.
Ni mzuri tuongeleshane ukweli ya kwamba ni mzuri tuongeleshane ukweli ya kwamba tumekuwa kwa hii nchi miaka mingi, na baada ya kila chaguzi ambazo zimepita kwa miaka karibu 30, tuliona Raila Odinga alishindwa na Moi, akasema hajashindwa, kuku ikameza tingatinga, akapata kuingia kwa serikali kupitia nyuma. Ikakuja wakati ya Kibaki, akaleta mambo ya code ile nusu mkeka, akasukuma Kibaki alikuwa anataka kufanya kazi naye, akamfuruga miaka 5, Kibaki ikakuwa ni ngumu kufanya kazi. Mwaka ya mwisho 5 ndio Kibaki alifanya kazi. Ikakuja serikali ya Uhuru Kenyatta. Mwaka ya kwanza serikali ya Jubilee ikafanya kazi vizuri. Mwaka wa pili wakati tuliingia kwa handshake, tukaona economy ya Kenya imeporwa proper, na ikakuwa Raila ameingizwa ndani katika ndiye partner wa handshake. Saa hii anataka kurudia yule mtindo tu, asukume William Ruto ndio apate nafasi ya kuingia kwa serikali. Either tingatinga imezo na jogoo, either kukue na handshake, lakini tunamwambia hiyo haitakuwa. Kwa hivyo hakuna haja ya kuandamana. Utaandamana mchana, usiku, na hiyo haitakuwa. La mwisho ni kwa watu wa Lower Eastern Region. Sisi hatukuwa kwa ballot paper. Ile watu walikuwa kwa ballot paper ni William Ruto na Gachagua, na wakashinda. Wale watu wengine walikuwa kwa ballot paper ni Raila Odinga na Martha Karua, wakashindwa. Watu wa Lower Eastern huko tunajaribu, we are trying to cry more than the bereaved. Sisi hatukushinda. Sasa sijui ni haja gani tunaambiwa twende kwa kusaidia maandamano. Naona ndugu yetu Kalonzo pale mbele na hakuwa kwa ballot paper, si mbunge. So tunamwambia Kalonzo na ile watu wamfuata, please, the Kamba community cannot cry more than the bereaved. Tuachane na hiyo upuzi na tuachie wenye upuzi wasukumanana nayo.
Asante. But maybe just to add on IEBC. On IEBC, and because most of you report for parliament, I think it is also a fact that the IEBC Act that created the Cherera 4 Commission, that law was authored by Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. They are the ones who appointed the Cherera 4 commissioners under the same act. What the Kenya Kwanza administration has done is to comply with a court order that removed the 4 panelists that were being nominated by the Parliamentary Service Commission. Therefore, Raila cannot pretend that there is a new law. It is the same law that Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta authored. The amendments that we have done under the 13th Parliament were passed in this House and the Senate. If you go to the Hansard, you will notice not a single member of the ODM party or Azimio coalition opposed those amendments because they knew it was in compliance to a court order. Therefore, Raila today cannot be telling people to go to the streets for his members having failed to do what they should have done in Parliament.
1 minute for this lady for